My name is Sarah. I've been married for 5 years. My husband works in sales at a construction company and earns a pretty good salary. We met through a friend and dated for 2 years before getting married. I wanted to continue working after we got married, but my husband wanted me to focus on being a homemaker, so I quit my job to stay home. At first, I was okay with that. I thought I was happy and fulfilled waiting at home and cooking for my husband. But that all changed recently, in our 5th year of marriage. My husband brought another woman home and said, "She's going to live with us. You're no longer needed." Despite giving up the job I loved and suppressing myself for his sake. He trampled over everything. And to make matters worse, he told me to leave the house we had just bought a year ago. I was so shocked by his sudden announcement that I just sat down, while the younger woman looked at me and laughed. As my husband continued to berate me, I barely listened until my young son clung to me. I don't want him to hear this, I thought. So I said, "I'm going to leave our son with a friend who lives nearby," and left the house. My husband watched me go without a word, while the woman settled herself onto the sofa. Thinking back, my husband started changing after our son was born. He used to be kind, but began to get irritated by our son's night crying. "Shut him up! Get him to stop crying!" No matter how much I tried, our son wouldn't stop crying, and I ended up walking him outside in the snow or rain until he fell asleep. When I came back inside, my husband would be sprawled out on the double bed, leaving no room for me. Moreover, his criticisms of me increased over time. "It's your fault he cries at night because you don't play enough with him during the day. A mother should take care of her child properly. I'm tired from working all day." I was indeed taking care of our son during the day. We would go to the park and I would watch over him. But still, he would cry at night. Other moms told me that it's normal and that the couple should take care of it together until it gets better. But that never happened in our house. When I couldn't get housework done because our son needed me, my husband would come home and yell, "Why isn't this cleaned up? You're so lazy. You're home all day and you can't even tidy up. Cleaning and tidying are a homemaker's job. If you have time to nap, you should be able to at least clean up." I was so exhausted from not being able to sleep at night and having no time to rest during the day that sometimes I fell asleep as soon as our son did, leaving the housework undone. But instead of understanding, my husband wouldn't even ask why things were the way they were. When I tried to explain when he was in a good mood, he would immediately get angry and start berating me. It was always my fault, and I was incompetent. He would compare me to other wives, but I wished I could compare him to other husbands. However, that was never an option. When our son got sick, he said, "I have work tomorrow. Take him to the doctor yourself." When I asked if he wasn't worried, he said, "Going to the doctor is the only thing to do. Worrying won't solve anything. I don't have time for useless worries." How heartless. I never thought he could be so heartless. As a result, I became nearly neurotic, but all he did was look at me with contempt. "You're like this because you worry too much. You're too soft. If you worked in the real world, you'd face much harder things. Always thinking about the kid, you must really have a lot of free time," he mocked, never trying to understand my feelings. Even on his days off, he wouldn't help with our son. So I would take him to the park alone, where I'd see children playing with their fathers. I couldn't help but feel envious, having only known hardship. We never went on a family vacation together. In the summer, it was always just me taking our son to the beach. Even if we went out for a drive, it was just me driving with our son beside me. My husband never joined. As a result, our son has no memories with his father. When we visited my husband's parents, all he would do is speak ill of me. Unable to cook properly, can't clean well, the worst wife. Even his parents looked down on me, offering no comfort or understanding. When our son turned 3, I started wanting to work again. But I couldn't bring myself to work to the point of needing to leave my child in someone else's care. So, I looked for something I could do from home, but when I mentioned this to my husband, he mocked me, saying, "So what? Every housewife helps out by working part-time to support the household. And here you are talking about remote work? I don't know what kind of job it is, but don't slack off on your duties at home. It's not like you're good at anything else anyway. It was about 2 years after I started working that he said, "We're buying this condo. Get ready to move." It was a high-end condominium. There's no way we could afford such a thing, I thought, wondering what he was planning. Seeing my worried look, he exploded. "With what I earn, buying a condo like this is nothing. Are you making fun of me?" I had no intention of belittling him. But it seemed impossible with his salary. I found it odd he didn't understand this, but I couldn't say anything. I didn't want to spoil his mood and make our home life tense. Nevertheless, since I was able to earn a decent income through remote work, I told him about it, saying, "Well, I have some income too, and if we both try hard, we can make it work, right?" However, he didn't seem to like that and started yelling. "Just because you work a little, don't get cocky. Your salary is peanuts. In any family, helping out with the finances is expected. Don't act all high and mighty for doing what you should." "I didn't mean it like that." "You're just trying to make me look stupid." I couldn't understand why he would think that. He called me crushed and a parasite. I wondered why I ever married such a person, blaming my past self. During that time, the days when my husband wouldn't come home increased. But there was a part of me that felt relieved when I cooked and he didn't come back. Without him, there were no complaints. I could work as I liked, play with my child without fear, and not worry about the house being a mess. It felt like the greatest happiness. Is this what marriage is supposed to be? And to think, he called me useless. Taking a deep breath, I opened the front door. I could hear my husband and another woman's voice inside. "Isn't your wife late?" "She's always slow. All that's left is to get her to sign the divorce papers, so it doesn't matter." The woman laughed, saying, "Right. Once I sign the divorce papers, I can be free of him." Feeling somewhat relieved at the thought, I entered the living room, where my husband looked at me. "You're late." "Yes." I had been lost in thought, which is why I was late. But saying that would probably only result in a "you're so stupid" thinking won't help response. "About what we were discussing earlier. We're getting a divorce, so sign this." It was the divorce papers. Signing them would set me free. "The kid's yours." "I don't want him." "Is that so?" "You're fine as long as you have the kid, right?" "Exactly. I don't need you if I have my child." "All right." I glanced at the woman briefly. The young woman, with her flashy makeup, laughed mockingly. "Perfect for the new place, huh?" "What?" "You're so young and charming." "Was it Camila, you said?" "Yes, that's right." "Thank you." "Huh? Thank you, even though your husband was taken? Are you out of your mind?" "You'll understand soon enough. Right?" "Oh." With a meaningful look, I signed the divorce papers, packed my belongings, and left the house. For a while, I had no choice but to live in a hotel. But I had enough income to live on. I had savings from these past years, so there was nothing to worry about. Determined, I picked up my child and settled into the hotel. "We'll live in a hotel for a while. I'll find us a nice home in the meantime," I told my child, hugging them, trying to encourage myself. Though my child looked uneasy, they nodded in agreement. I was furious at my husband for bringing up divorce so easily, especially with a child involved. It's like he wasn't thinking about the child at all. It was good to be rid of such a man. But was it really okay to part ways like this? The thought of revenge crossed my mind. I wanted to make him suffer. But I didn't know how. I wondered if there was a way to make him regret it, but nothing came to mind. Seeing my child playing alone, I thought, my face must look so ugly filled with these thoughts. I shouldn't show such an ugly expression to my child as their mother. Let's forget it. Let's move on and forget. I'm free now. I gently stroked my child's head as they read a book alone, showing them a kind smile. Within a month, my child and I settled into a new home, furnished it, and started a new life. By then, I had begun to put my ex-husband Ken out of my mind. Thanks to that, my child and I had many days filled with laughter. I could concentrate on my work while occasionally baking sweets. It seems my child made friends in the neighborhood and was happily playing outside. I never imagined such a fulfilling life could exist. But then one day, Ken called.
Hey! Why isn't the loan being paid off?
Huh? You should at least say hello, shouldn't you?
I don't care about that. I'm not calling to talk to you.
I thought not to argue since it would only cause stress. I wanted to end the conversation quietly and quickly. I took a deep breath before responding. I don't want to talk to you either, so let's finish this quickly. What's it about?
It's about the loan. Why hasn't it paid off?
That's because you haven't deposited any money into the account, right? Telling me about it doesn't help.
Why haven't you deposited it?
What? What is he talking about? I understand it's about the loan for the high-rise condo. But why would I, who doesn't live there, pay it? It makes no sense. Why do you think I should pay for it?
The condo loan was supposed to be paid by you.
Why? We're divorced and you're the one living there. Why should I pay? I obviously shouldn't.
Then who's gonna pay for it?
Ken, you should, right?
Why should I?
Because you're living there. Isn't it obvious?
No, it's not obvious. I thought you would pay.
However you think about it, it's your business, but I don't need to pay, right? It's common sense.
If I have to pay, it means I have to work.
Yes, that's right. How can you support her without working?
I don't want to work.
That's not my problem.
I've supported you for years. You could at least pay the loan.
What nonsense are you talking about? After our child was born, you didn't participate in parenting and just criticized me. Even when the child was sick, you didn't worry at all. Yet, I've raised our child alone, enduring everything you said. Considering the mental anguish, providing living expenses is the least you could do. I wanted to work, but you wanted me to stay home. Don't act so high and mighty now, saying you've supported us. Suddenly, everything I had been thinking just burst out, and I found myself yelling like a machine gun. Ken probably didn't expect me to say such things. He seemed taken aback and was at a loss for words for a moment. But then he quickly started to argue back.
You should still be the one paying.
When we bought the condo, you said you could pay for it with your salary. I thought it was impossible from the start. Yet, now you're telling me to pay? Even with a child, how do you expect me to pay for something like that? If you called just to say something foolish, I'd hang up.
No, that won't do. I'm having a child too. My wife is expecting.
Congratulations on your expected child. But that's a separate issue. You chose to marry her, so it's your responsibility to take care of your wife and child properly this time.
How can you say something so cruel? You weren't like this before.
You were too noisy and always negating me. That's why I couldn't say anything. Being negated every day can break a person's spirit. You lose confidence in yourself, and your heart gets torn apart. You were the one who broke me back then. That's why I couldn't say anything.
Is that so?
Yes. I wasn't a woman who didn't speak. I was a woman so broken I couldn't speak.
So, you're better now?
Yes, I've gained a lot of confidence from working and living on my earnings. I've become stronger since divorcing you. Thank you for that. When I said thank you during our divorce, it was because I was happy to be free of you.
Is that how it was?
Yes, that's how it was. So no matter what you say, I won't give you any money. Stay out of my life from now on. After saying that, I hung up. My heart rate skyrocketed, and I felt a sudden thirst, but I wanted to praise myself for finally being able to say what I had never been able to say before. However, not even an hour later, I received a call from Camila, Ken's mistress, who was, surprisingly, even more assertive than Ken, despite being 9 years younger.
Hey! The condo's in your name, right?
Caught off guard by the sudden accusation without even an introduction, I was flustered.
I'm asking you. Can't you just respond?
Wait a minute, Who are you exactly?
I'm not just anyone. I'm Ken's wife.
Ken, as in my ex-husband? Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Maybe you should show some manners first? Being yelled at by someone who doesn't even introduce themselves, I might as well think it's a prank call.
Shut up. This isn't about manners. The condo is in your name, isn't it?
And if it is?
Shouldn't you be the one paying the loan then? Why is Ken supposed to pay for it?
Oh, I see. So, you're going to pay the rent?
What? Why would that be?
Well, if the condo is in my name and thus my property, and I'm letting someone else, you, live there, it's only natural I'd collect rent.
Don't say stupid things. I won't pay you rent.
I thought so. But don't worry. The condo's name isn't mine.
Then whose name is it?
Well, if we were living together as a couple, that leaves only one person, doesn't it?
Ken.
That would be the case.
But Ken said he changed it to your name.
There was a time I thought so too. He quit his job and said I should pay the loan. But then, we're married, so I thought it wasn't necessary to change it. Changing it would mean a gift during life, which could incur taxes. That would be a waste. So, the name stayed his. Lucky, right?
Wait a minute. Quit his job? What do you mean?
Didn't you know? He quit his job.
No way. He's a salesman at a construction company, making a good income.
That was the story before.
What do you mean?
Well, it's quite a story from the past. I noticed his salary wasn't being deposited. I thought discussing it would only lead to a fight, so I called his company. They said he had resigned. I was shocked.
What did you do then?
I confronted him, you know. It's unbelievable he wouldn't tell me he had quit. But when I asked, he just yelled at me. Well, that's just the kind of person he is, I guess.
And then what happened?
Well, he said he quit because he didn't want to work anymore.
What's that supposed to mean?
He said it was absurd that he was the only one working. Sounds like a child, doesn't it? He quit because of that. Truly irresponsible.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's the kind of person he is. So, we had a talk, and I said I'd work hard at my home-based job so we could both make an effort. He agreed to it, saying if we were both going to work hard.
Did he start working then?
No. He was quiet for a few days, but then he'd complain about me working like that and ultimately didn't work at all. He seems to think that only working outside the home counts as work. But with a young child, it can't be helped. Still, I was making good money, but he wouldn't accept that. We never got around to explaining it properly.
What about his job then?
After that, he didn't seem to be looking for work and just lounged around all day. I got fed up and asked him if he wasn't going to the job center. He said he was looking online and sometimes brought home job magazines, but there was no sign he was actually looking. Somehow we managed to pay the loan and live, so I guess he thought it was okay. He declared he wouldn't work for a while.
What is that?
He said, I've worked hard enough, now it's your turn. So, I told him, since I've been doing the household chores, you should do them if I'm going to work. He said it would be easy. But he didn't do it.
He didn't do it?
Right. He started off with enthusiasm, but that lasted maybe 3 days. Then everything was neglected, the kitchen was a mess with dirty dishes piling up, laundry piled up until it was washed and then left wrinkly. He was told to just take showers, so he never cleaned the bathroom. The toilet was filthy, everything was half done. The only thing he did diligently was shopping, and that was only for snacks he wanted. Dinner was either convenience store bentos or ready meals. I was shocked by the extent of his laziness.
Why can you laugh about it?
I had given up by then. But then, he brought you, his mistress, into our lives. Thinking about it, he did go out for groceries, but whenever he went, he wouldn't come back for ages, probably because he was meeting you, right? Eventually, he'd say he was going out to look for work, but he'd leave in casual clothes, come back drunk, and often not until the early hours. I have work, so I stopped caring if he wasn't around since I could get more work done. So, I guess I didn't love him after all. Maybe I even wished he wasn't there.
Is that so?
Yes.
That's why I said thank you when we divorced. I was thankful someone took that trash off my hands. That's terrible.
But maybe he's working now. Or maybe not. Given he said he didn't want to work in our last call.
If that's true, he's truly despicable.
Exactly.
No way.
Well, since the loan isn't being paid, I can't imagine he's working. If he were, he'd be the type to boast about working.
What should I do?
That's for you to decide. You're the one who took someone's husband after all, and you're married now, right?
We've registered our marriage.
Then it's a problem between you two, and I don't want to know.
What?
Camila seemed quite shocked by the truth. But no matter what anyone says, I consider myself lucky to have gotten rid of the trouble. Then, once again, I got a call from Ken.
She left me.
Oh really, why?
She found out I was unemployed and got really mad. Next thing I knew, her stuff was gone.
Quite wise of her.
Why? It's not a big deal, no reason to leave something like that.
Not a big deal?
Yeah, she told me to work, and I said I didn't want to. Then she kicked me out to find a job. But I just couldn't bring myself to work, so I never found one.
That's something to be angry about.
But you never got mad at me for something like that.
True, I didn't get mad because I didn't want to fight. By the end, I had given up. I figured there's no point arguing with someone as selfish as you.
I thought she wouldn't say anything to me either, but isn't it harsh to just leave like that?
Not at all. It seems like a very wise decision to me. But did she leave just because of that?
The loan payments were overdue, and when she saw the collection notices, she freaked out. She said she never thought I was this kind of man.
Sounds normal to me.
But that's the bad part. She said we're getting a divorce, so I asked what about the baby. Then she said she was never pregnant.
Really?
Yeah. When I asked what that meant, she said she married me thinking she could have an easy life because I was a sales manager at a construction company with a good salary. She thought she could just pretend to have a miscarriage later.
Yeah, unemployment fraud and pregnancy fraud.
As soon as she found out I was unemployed, everything was suddenly my fault. She said she wanted to marry me thinking I was going to be the father of her child, but if she knew it would come to this, she wouldn't have left you.
I'm glad we divorced.
That shouldn't be the case. Hey, can't we start over?
What? After abandoning your child, you're saying this now?
If I'm with you, I don't have to work, right? You can pay off the loan, and it'll be perfect.
Why would I remarry someone who doesn't work or do anything around the house?
I'll do it. I'll take care of the house this time.
I can't believe that. You said you'd do it before, but never did any housework. Why should I believe you now?
That's because you always forgave me, so I didn't do it. If you were a stricter woman, I would have done it properly.
So it's my fault? Well, yeah. You're the worst, you know that? I just want to live an easy life. I need you for that. I see.
Since you're living like this, you must be earning a decent salary, right?
Yes, I'm making about the same as when you were a sales manager.
Then we really should get remarried. It's better for the child to have both parents together.
You're so selfish. Here's a gift for you.
What? A marriage certificate?
No, I'm filing for child support. A lawyer will be visiting you soon, so make sure to pay.
That's not a gift.
That's not my problem.
Why now? It's been a while since we divorced. Why all of a sudden?
A while? It's been less than 6 months. That's why I can still file a claim. I thought maybe I shouldn't bother since you're broke, but listening to your delusional thoughts made me realize it's actually for your own good. So, make sure to pay.
That's ridiculous.
After that, I hired a lawyer and filed for child support. I insisted on a lump sum payment to avoid future hassles, and somehow, he managed to pay it all at once. But that payment ended up putting him in more trouble, leading him to put the condo up for sale. However, being a second-hand property, it was hard to find a buyer. When it finally sold, it went for less than half the original price. leaving a significant amount of the loan unpaid. Between the condo loan and the debt for child support, Ken found himself in a position where he had no choice but to work. But with a long gap in his employment, finding a job was tough. Desperate for a place to live, he ended up in a notoriously cheap property rumored to be haunted. Fortuitously, he seems to have found a job. However, it's just part-time work. Ultimately, juggling multiple part-time jobs has become a way of life solely to service debts, leaving him gaunt from stress and exhaustion. It's unclear whether this is due to the burden of multiple jobs or perhaps the nightly sobbing of a woman he hears, leaving his mental state in question. Lately, he's been observed talking to someone when no one is around, suggesting his mind may have drifted off somewhere. On the other hand, I'm living a peaceful life with my child. We don't have a view like one from a high-rise apartment, but we've got a small dog and lead a very calm life. Such tranquility was unimaginable to me before. Now, I can truly say every day is filled with happiness.